Good afternoon and welcome to the Indie Author Show. I'm Sue Miller, your host of this fortnightly program where we talk to independent authors and people that work with independent authors. So today in the studio, it's my guest, Jan Kiermasz. Hi, Jan.
Hi, Sue.
Welcome. Welcome to the studios of Kellen FM. I know that you've been here before on other shows, so this is the first time that you've been on the Indie Author Show. So it's about time.
It is about time, yes, definitely.
Now, Jan is from John Jelly, and I all of a sudden just had a little panic attack there because I don't want to say the name of the peninsula that she's from. Can you say?
Because I'm from Wirral.
And anybody who knows me well knows that my Canadian accent can't really pronounce that very well. So I'm just going to say you're from Prenton.
Yeah, I'm from Prenton on the Wirral.
Yeah. Okay, you keep saying that for me. I'm sure there's people listening who are going to have a little giggle at that. I do try. I honestly try, but I am tired of people laughing at me. So, that peninsula that's got the D and the Mersey on either side of it, that's where you're from.
That's where I'm from, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Okay, Jan. Well, it's great to have you here with us. And I was just saying when we were off air just before we started the show that it's actually the 1st of August. I can't believe that. We're in the 8th month of 2018. Time just goes by so quickly, doesn't it? So,
It does. I can't believe it's that time. It's just flown by this year.
yeah. We've had a wonderful summer, though, haven't we? So hopefully the good weather continues through the month of August for everyone. So we're going to come back and talk to Jan. Jan's specialty is marketing for authors and for business people in general, really. So we're going to have a good old chat. But I wanted to also make sure folks knew that if you have the TuneIn app, you can also listen live to the Indie Author Show. Sometimes you may not be close to a computer to listen to it digitally, but if you have the TuneIn app, which is for iTunes or Android, you can download that on your phone, and you can listen to. I know I've actually listened to my show. If I've recorded it, I've listened to it on the TuneIn app. I was in the Euston train station with my headphones in, listening to myself. That was really freaky. But it's just a convenient way of listening to the shows on Kellen FM. Loads of brilliant shows on Kellen FM, so check us out. We just saw, recently we saw Lorraine, who does the breakfast show now. I want to call her Lorraine Kelly because that's the name she uses on Facebook, which is, so she's following in Lorraine Kelly's footsteps. But she's actually Lorraine Salisbury, and she does the breakfast show on Kellen FM, and she also does Happy Talk. And you've been on Happy Talk.
I've been Happy Talk, yeah. That was the first time I was on Kellen FM.
Oh, were you?
I was on Lorraine's show, Happy Talk.
Yeah, and that's on Thursdays. So Thursday's a really good day. We've got Denise Oliver, we've got Denise, we've got Tracy Jones and Heather Noble. Yeah, Thursday's a full day, so make sure you check out Kellen FM. So, Jan, just tell us a little bit what you do, what John Jelly's all about, and I know you do a lot of social media type training, and if you want to just kind of go for it, tell us what you do.
Yeah, I do a lot of training around anything to do with the internet, so social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I help people build websites for themselves, anything really that they can do on a computer to market themselves. So there's lots of available stuff out there that is free to use. So I teach people how to make the most out of the free stuff so that they can get out there and keep doing things without having to have a huge marketing budget, because there's so much involved in actually making sure people have heard of you, whether you're a small business or whether you're an author. And I'm a big believer that any published author is a small business.
Yeah.
So there's no difference really to what I teach to authors. We just tailor it to be specific to indie authors against normal businesses. So there's loads and loads of stuff out there that everybody can do and can make use of, from having a page on Facebook and making it work for you for free without paid advertising, through to making sure you've got a website to sell your books from, everything in between.
Yeah, I think not just authors, but I'm obviously other small business people find social media can be really daunting. And usually I think you find this where people will be fairly proficient on one of the platforms, but the rest of them totally scare them. And now we get the odd person who doesn't have a clue about any of them. But for the most part, wouldn't you say that probably Facebook, most people use Facebook?
Facebook is certainly the easiest. Most people get comfortable with first, whereas Twitter is the one that just scares the pants off people totally.
I find that so strange because I love Twitter.
There are people out there who adore Twitter, but it's the one that I get the most feedback about in a negative. No, it's I don't really get it. It's too scary a place to be. I'm not sure I can cope with doing that.
Yeah.
So that's the one I get the negative feedback. Whereas people, oh yeah, I've used Facebook. They just need to understand how to make it work for a business.
Yeah, because people use Facebook for a personal reasons, but then we need to create pages for them that they use, and pages work a bit differently than.
Yeah,
and you've explained it really, really. Probably the first course I went to, I loved, and I explain this now to all my authors. Whereas your personal profile is where you have friends, and your page is where you have likes.
That's it. Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you can just remember that, because people think, well, I already have a page. Well, you don't have a page, you have a profile. And then from your profile, you have to have a profile to create a page.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then you help people to wrap their head around it by saying, well, you may have liked a page maybe for a hotel that you've been to, or, a shop or something like that. So that's the difference. You've liked that page, so that is their business page. That's not their profile. But when you're sharing your holiday snaps or talking about your children, that's usually your profile. And but what is the thing that we want to avoid the most? What are the videos we want to avoid the most, Jan, that you've always taught us on Facebook of posting? We want to avoid posting videos of.
Oh, you mean the silly cats?
The silly cats.
You want to avoid posting videos of anything really that isn't directly to do with what you do.
Yeah.
If you've written a book about silly cats, then that's absolutely fine. Post a video about it. But otherwise, it's got to be something that your audience are going to relate to.
Yes.
So if you have nothing to do with silly cat videos, then that's not what you should be sharing and posting.
And that... I like that analogy as well, because we all get caught up on that kind of thing. Now, just to be clear, if we love cats and we love videos of silly cats, we can share that on our profile.
Yeah, share it on your personal stuff. That's not a problem. But when you're trying to promote a business, you need to have something that relates to your business that you're going to promote, because you want people to like what it is you do and relate to what you do and trust what you do. You might get a lot of interaction for the silly cat video, but you have to take that one step back and say, actually, what benefit is it bringing to my business? Is it bringing sales?
Mm-hmm. And you want people to remember you. Sorry for my throat. You want people to remember you for your business, not for the silly cat video, because it's like that association, right? If you've written... I'm just trying to think. You've written a book about, just trying to use an example of someone. So if you've written a book about, let's use Lynn Robinson for an example. So you've written a book about being a medium, then you're going to talk about your experiences that make people remember in their head that you are a medium. Yeah. So if you post something that's completely unrelated to that in every way, there is no sort of association. I don't think I'm saying it properly, but
you're saying it just fine.
Yeah.
Too, yeah. You want people to remember you for the right reasons.
For the right,
and to think when they need your business.
Yes.
So if you've written a book about mediumship and they're looking for a medium, you want them to remember you for that, for what you do. If they're just remembering you for the silly cat video, you haven't hooked into them. So when they are looking for a medium, they're not going to remember you.
Yeah.
So it needs to be something that they'll remember you for what you do, what you've written.
And I think that is the difficult part of people with Facebook, for example, is they really get bogged down in understanding the difference between what their profile is there for and what their page is there for. And I think probably the people maybe that are the most successful are the people who say, well, I hate Facebook, I don't go on Facebook. Well, you have to go on Facebook to have a page. But you don't even need to use your profile. You can shut your profile right down and not do any of the personal stuff with it, but then just use your page. And that's what people need to wrap their head around, I think, is that use your page as an advertising marketing tool for your business. You don't have to tell them what you had for dinner last night. You don't have to tell them, how wonderful your children are. That all this, there's loads of talk about how Facebook is very good for lots of reasons, but it also can depress people because they see all this almost, I don't want to say false, but it all just shows the positive side of life. Some people will do that with their personal profiles, and others don't want to get caught up in that. So what I'm saying is you don't need to do that side of it to use Facebook effectively for your business, in my roundabout way of saying that. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's a case of it has a purpose and you are there for a purpose. When you're using it as a marketing tool, that's exactly how you should view it. It's just a marketing tool. You're not expected to share any of your personal life unless it's relevant to your marketing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think that is probably the biggest block I have with people. And so somehow or other, Jan, you and I have to put our heads together to figure out how can we convince them of that. Maybe what we should do is set up a dummy account because, some people feel like, well, if I'm on Facebook, I've got to share those photos or I've got to share that talk. And no, you don't. So anyways, let's move away from Facebook then. We'll go on to Twitter. I have always said that Facebook and Twitter are probably the most important ones to have as an author. Facebook, because the page, if you use the page properly, it's a great marketing tool, and you can draw people into your. What you want to do is from all the social media that you do, you want to drive them to your website, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But Twitter has the people that you want to engage with as an author. So many of the, it's just without question, if you want book bloggers and publishers and agents and other professional authors that have, trade publishing deals, they're all on Twitter. So that's the platform that you need to be on if you want to be a serious author.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is great for brand awareness for anything. It gets the name out there. It gets people to realise you exist. And it's a very fast-paced medium, so you can get the message out there very quickly. But you have to keep it up. You do have to keep it up. Because it is such a fast-paced medium, you have to keep the pressure on. You have to post there regularly, but people will begin to notice you. People will begin to share, and other people, and the people you need to touch will eventually see you. But you do have to persevere with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the old days when you had TV or even radio advertising. You would hear it would be repetitive. You would block your advertising in where it would repeat itself. And you're doing that for a reason, because people don't engage when they first hear you. You can't just throw an ad out there and then come back 3 months later and expect that it worked. So that's kind of what you were talking about with Twitter.
Exactly. I mean, they used to say that you needed 7 touches to make a sale. With the internet now, it's probably closer to 13. There are lots and lots of things that you need to think about, but you need to make sure that you've got those 13 touches. If you haven't touched someone 13 times, which it sounds such a lot, but really it's not with the internet. Mm-hmm. If you haven't touched them 13 times, they've probably not had the chance to make that decision that actually they do want to buy the book, read the book, feature you in an article, whatever it is you want them to do. They haven't had a chance for it to sink in with them. So you do need that repetitiveness, and that's why you see constantly on adverts, even for the big brands. There is constantly the adverts for the big brands, for the big stores.
Yeah.
High street stores don't start marketing just because they're the most popular store on the high street, they keep it up, they keep that touch, and everybody should take a leaf out of their book and make sure that it's consistent. So all marketing should be consistent. Whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it.
So when you say 13 times, is that for each platform?
It's 13 times for each person that you're touching.
Oh, okay.
If you're lucky, sometimes you'll touch them on more than one platform.
Right.
But the chances are it would be per different people per platform.
Okay, I've got you. So, Jan, thanks again for joining me in the studio for the Indie Author Show. And we're talking about marketing, social media marketing primarily with your company, John Jelly. And you are one of the team author team. You're one of the experts. So we offer training courses for, we've done general sort of an overall marketing, haven't we? Kind of how you...
Yeah, we've done like a 5 steps to marketing your business.
Yeah. And then the most popular ones we do are workshops on Facebook and workshops on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, and we tend to get people who definitely want to come to those, and they go away with understanding a lot better, because your workshops are actually, you bring your laptop, you actually do the work.
Yeah, I believe it's very hands-on. How do you relate what you're learning to what you're doing if you're not actually doing it as part of the learning process? So yeah, it's very much rock up, bring your laptop, open it up, and let's say you're actually doing what you're learning for real.
Using the Facebook example, you'll actually help people set up their page, or maybe they have their page kind of just the outline of their page done when they come to the course, but then you will, through the course, you help them to write their description and
we make sure everything that needs to be there to appeal is there. So all the static things.
Yeah.
So long descriptions, short descriptions, website addresses, phone numbers, whatever it is that people need to be able to buy their book, we make sure all those things are there and in place during the actual workshop itself.
Yeah, because so you actually, you do a bit of training, then you say, okay, now we've got an exercise, and the people are actually doing the exercise on their laptop. So that's brilliant, and that's why we've got great feedback. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? I think... Excuse me, I don't know why. I seem to be fine when I'm off air, and as soon as I come on air, I get a frog in my throat. But I think what people, when you go on a workshop and you just take notes, and then you go home, and then depending on how good of a note taker you are, you go home and you think, oh, what did she mean by that? You know? So I think actually doing it there, and then you were there to answer their questions, because we try to keep it to about a 6 to 8 class size, so that you can get around and answer people's questions and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing when I was learning things that I found difficult was seminar style. I've got to take in everything that I'm being taught, and then I've got to translate that in order to apply it to me and my business. So when I wrote workshops, I didn't want people to be in that same situation. I didn't want them to have to go away and do that translation process for themselves. I wanted them to have that practical application where they already understood how it applied to their business, and they were actually applying it themselves within that scenario. And then they're in the perfect position to say, do you know what? I don't quite get that. Can you explain it in a different way? Because I don't understand how really it's going to work for me. And we can do that on a live basis. So yeah, we always limit class sizes so everybody gets the opportunity to ask those questions, because there aren't any stupid questions.
And often if somebody asks a question, the person next to them had the same question, but they just didn't ask it, you know, so everybody's learning in that environment from, I think back to the courses or workshops that I've been to. How many times do you think, oh, this would be a great course? And you go there and you get the information, you get the handout, you make a few notes, then you go home and you do absolutely nothing with it. I mean, it's heartbreaking when you think about it, because you paid to go in that course, and I'm not saying it wasn't a good course, and I'm sure you enjoyed it and you learned something, but are you actually applying it? That's the key. With you, with your courses, Jan, if you're not applying it, it's not because you don't have all the information there because you've actually created everything. It's ready for you to now, when you go home that evening or the next morning, you can actually start using it. There's no, oh, I've got to set it up now. There's none of that. It's been set up.
It's all been set up.
Yeah.
You're all ready to go, and you're all ready to start marketing from the following day.
Yeah. So it is, to me, I find them incredibly useful and highly recommend them. So let's just throw in, we'll do it again later in the show, but just throw in your social media links and websites so people can find you.
Yeah, johnjelly.co.uk. You can find me on Facebook as John Jelly on Wirral, and you can find me on Twitter at John Jelly Wirral.
Okay.
I have an Instagram account, which is John Jelly Wirral as well.
Okay. And obviously through Team Author UK. So at Team Author UK is our Twitter and Facebook, and teamauthoruk.co.uk. So if anybody wants to get in touch specifically about their books, and I mean, you can help people individually, but through the book side of things, we tend to go through Team Author as well. So just have a look at what Jan does, and you'll see all the great testimonials that she has as well. So let's just nip back over to Twitter. We're sort of traveling the social media universe today. So let's go back to Twitter. What are some of the things that people say to you about, oh, I'm scared of Twitter because...
I think one of the things is it's such a fast-moving platform itself that things seem to just flow in and flow out again. You only have currently around about an 8-minute window for someone to actually read what you've posted. The thought of actually posting lots and lots of things is quite a scary thing, because it's, oh my God, what do I post? How do I think of enough things to be able to post to actually get into that 8-minute window that people are actually going to want to read and I'm going to make an impact with? And do I have to do this constantly? Am I just going to spend all my life on Twitter trying to keep up with everything I need to do on there?
Yeah. And it's, so that, I guess what I'm trying to think back when I first started using Twitter. I think what I did more was actually comment on other people's tweets.
Yeah, you
because
can substitute by getting engaged in conversations with other people on there.
Yeah.
So,
but that gives you that comfort, because then you're not actually having to post something. You're responding to something that somebody's already posted. So I'm not saying do that all the time, but just to get your feet wet, to understand how Twitter works, start following people that you want to follow. So if you've got a favorite author, find them and follow them. If there's a certain cause or something associated with the book that you've written, find, and we're going to talk about hashtags, but find those hashtags, find somebody else that's successful in that particular area, follow them, watch what they do, comment on their tweets. And then the more you start doing that, then the more you start to feel comfortable and you think, oh, okay, I get how Twitter works now. Then you can start posting your own content more confidently, I guess.
Yeah, once you see what other people are doing and you see what's working and what appeals to you, then if it appeals to you, it's going to appeal to someone else as well. So yeah, get involved in the conversation.
And that's really what it is. It's a digital conversation, Twitter, isn't it?
It is, totally.
I mean, Facebook, your post might sit there, well, you'll know, but it can be there, depending on how many people like it, it can be there 3 or 4 days later, you'll still see it in your news feed.
Yeah, you see it in your news feed and you'll still get feedback on it. But
in Twitter, it's like a rolling...
Yeah, you've got this 8-minute window, so it's a much, much faster pace.
Think of it as those... what do you call them? Those automatic walkways in airports. You get on at the start of the walkway. Your post is on at the start of the walkway, and by the time you get to the end of the walkway, it's gone. And so if you can think about that and just think that's how it's constantly moving, it's constantly recycling itself. And so, don't expect to post something and think, somebody can go you posted it at 1:00 in the afternoon and somebody at 7:00 in the evening is going to see that. It's completely different. Somebody might see it at 1:15, but that's about it.
Yeah, you've got different people are on at different times with Twitter. People have their favourite time. They have their downtime when they're just going to go on and quickly check Twitter. But the chances of the same person reading that same post half an hour later, 2 hours later, 5 hours later, it's quite remote on Twitter.
And so that's why you also say that you can repost the same tweet at different times and on different days.
Yeah, absolutely. Reuse what you're writing.
Yeah.
You don't have to create all new stuff. Reuse it.
Yeah, and I think people don't get that either because you think, because you wouldn't do that on Facebook. You wouldn't repeat yourself on Facebook.
No, they hang around so much longer on Facebook that
Yeah.
you don't want to be repeating yourself. You can repeat yourself every 6 months or so on
Yeah.
Facebook, but on Twitter, you can do it every few days.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I think another key learning thing for people to understand is that you can repeat yourself. So you might have a post that goes out. The same post might go out Monday at 9 a.m. and it can go out Wednesday at 3 p.m. And for the most part, unless you have a stalker on Twitter, for the most part, the same person's not going to see that same post.
But even if they do, because there's been that time difference between it, you're just reinforcing it and it's just going to sound vaguely familiar.
Yeah, true.
You know, if you said the same thing, 8 times a day, every day of the week for 7 days, yes, people are going to get bored with it. But when you've got that time difference between it, it's just reinforcing in people's minds, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar, that sounds familiar.
Cool. Are photos, videos important on Twitter?
Photographs can certainly make you stand out a little bit from the run-of-the-mill news feed, but it does have to be an appropriate photograph.
Again, not a cat photo.
Yeah, not a cat photo unless your book's about cats. And videos can, I think video is more important on Facebook.
Okay.
Particularly video lives, far more important on Facebook. But yeah, short videos on Twitter can attract a little bit of attention.
Okay, well, I think that's going to freak out most people, even the video side. So let's stick to photographs then. So do you suggest, or do you have research that says that more people engage with your post if there's a photo? Is there any kind of statistics you can give us?
It certainly gets more noticeable.
Okay.
It will stand out in the feed when there's a photo.
So we don't have to think about doing it for every post.
No.
But if you can throw in a photo once a day.
Yeah, if you throw in at least one photo throughout the day, that particular tweet will get a little bit more attention, and hopefully it should get more engagement if it's the right image. But that image has to be an image that appeals to people. Otherwise, people are getting so used to seeing images that the run-of-the-mill and the memes and things that are appearing, they will just be overlooked.
Okay, well, now's a good time to bring in hashtags because hashtags can be very effective on Twitter. And again, I think that's something that people just, what the heck is a hashtag, And you don't really use hashtags on Facebook. They're really relevant. Well, they're relevant to Instagram, I guess, but let's just talk about Twitter now. And so let's use Hal's books as an example. So our mutual friend Jane Hawkes and Will Hawkes, her son has autism, and he wrote this book with Jude Lennon, and he did all the illustrations. Now, Jane is Will's mum, so she's been using Twitter quite effectively under the Hal's books, HALS books, because they're writing more than one book. So they've created their Twitter name is Hal's Books, not the name of the book, not the name of the author, because they want to build their brand around the book series, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because normally what we would say is your name, your brand is you as an author, because you could be writing multiple books, and unless it's a series, you really want to be known as the author, not as the book. Yeah, because then you can talk about different books, and you definitely don't want multiple accounts for every book that you do.
God, you could not cope.
But in this particular instance, so we wouldn't recommend this for most people, but in this particular instance, we are focusing on the series of books as opposed to the author. Okay, so let's talk about Hal's books, and you've watched their progress. So what makes you believe that they've been very successful on Twitter and how they've used the hashtags and so on?
Well, hashtags denote a topic of conversation. So they went out and found topics of conversation that were relevant to the subject of the book. And they also created their own hashtag as well, their own topic of conversation. So they have picked up on all the autism topics that are happening out there. And they also used the Awesome About Autism hashtag themselves.
Which is one they created,
That's
right?
one they created, and that's now being picked up by other people, other authors, schools, all those people who are interested in being advocates for those with autism. But they join in a lot of conversations. They look for schools who are talking about the book, who are talking about autism itself, and they join in. So they repeat them, they share what they're reading, they cross-promote as well. So anybody else who's talking about things, they're happy to share that as well. So they're creating a buzz about this and a buzz about the Awesome About Autism phrase themselves. So other people then see that, they see it's about autism, and they pick up on it.
And you can click on Hal's books. So say you're seeing, oh, Hal's books. What's Hal's books? So you can click on that, and then you can see the description. And if you want more information, you can go to their website. So there's links. But first, the person, before they follow, at least before I follow anybody, I would click to see who they are and what they're about. So that's what people are doing. They say, oh, well, this sounds really interesting. So then they follow that person, and then they start engaging with them. So, yeah, so that's kind of how, because if you think of hashtags on Twitter like a Google search, that's how I would say it. So using Hal's books as an example, at the very beginning, the book is about autism. Okay, it's about a young boy in the 1970s who has autism. It's kind of aimed at, well, it can be anyone really, but say 10-year-olds to 90-year-olds really. Anybody who wants to understand a friend or a family member that has autism. So the book is written for, I guess what I'm trying to say is for the teenagers.
It's written for 9 to 11-year-olds.
Yeah, but it can be read and enjoyed and take learnings from it from any age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've read it as an adult. I've
Yeah.
read it, and it gave me such an insight into what goes on in Will's head.
Yeah, exactly.
And I now understand better some of his behaviours, and I begin to see the behaviour patterns.
Yeah.
So I know now when Will is stressed, because I recognise that from reading the book.
Yeah.
And it's helped so many other children relate to the kids who are in their class who are on spectrum, who do have behaviour that is different. So whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, whether you're a teacher, it doesn't matter how old you are, it still gives you that insight into how those brains work and why they work so differently to ours.
So when they started out on Twitter, then they started, if you want to use the word Googling, but that's not what they did. They were on Twitter, but they looked up, they used the search bar.
Yeah, they search. You've got a little magnifying glass,
Yeah.
which is your search. You go on there, you put the hashtag symbol in and the words after it. So they put hashtag in autism and then went and looked for the conversations that were happening around autism.
Yeah, and then you can join those. You can because those are lists, and you can join those lists. But then what you do is you use those hashtags in your tweet. So you find one that's already existing and that has loads of people following it. That's another way that you can find people that you want to follow, because you go and find, well, who's using that hashtag, and then you follow them. So it's a little bit of a detective work, isn't it, at the start? And then when you start tweeting, you use that hashtag, and then the people that are already part of that hashtag community, let's call it, they'll start seeing your posts because they belong to, I don't know, I've just created a new word, hashtag community, because they belong to that list. They've told Twitter that they want to see tweets with those hashtags in it. Yeah, so they appear more often in their news feed.
Yeah, it's listening in to particular conversations.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same as everyone listening in today. to the radio show.
Yeah.
It is. It's listening in and then having that ability to join in with that conversation itself. But in order to successfully join in with a conversation, you need to listen for a while first to find out what's actually being said within that conversation.
Yeah.
No different to Twitter. And that's how hashtags work. You can listen in to conversations on a subject that interests you, and then you can join in by including those hashtags within your own tweets.
Right. So hopefully that gives some people some guidance. I know there's still like loads of things to learn about that, and that's why going on one of your courses, then at least you can actually come away and have it done, and you can. We talked about Facebook before, but you do the same with Twitter. We'll set up your Twitter account. We'll help you find the relevant hashtags. You set up your description. You've got to have, your photograph, your banner photo, and get you doing some practice tweets and get you finding some people to follow. So I think it's not as bad as what it appears. It seems huge.
Nowhere near as scary as people think it is.
Well, it's even, if you just look at it as Googling or searching. Everybody uses the word Google. But even, if you're on Amazon, you will put in the search bar the book that you're looking for. If you are on Google and you're trying to find a local nail bar, you'll put that into Google so that they show up. But, everybody's using the search bar all the time on loads of different sites. So if you went into a furniture, let's say you went to Next and you online and you wanted to see their sofas, well, you'd put in the search bar sofa. So it's no different on Twitter. You just use the search bar for hashtags to find, they can be, usually they're a phrase, aren't they? Usually hashtags, not always, but they can be 2 or 3 words.
Yeah, they're generally 2 or 3 words put together. Obviously, autism is a slight exception to that.
Yeah.
But certainly the awesome about autism. My one is digital marketing. You've got indie author. There are lots of different hashtags talking about different subjects, and they're generally 2 to 3 words.
Yeah, because it's the same again. If you go back to the Google search method that I'm suggesting, is that if you wanted information about, you wanted to look for a used car, you wouldn't just put used car. You would put the type of car that you were looking for. Right, so that's why said
used Lamborghini. You're not going to just put in
exactly.
used car. You're going to put in used Lamborghini.
Yes,
second-hand
exactly.
Lamborghini. You're going to look for the car that you want to own.
So that's why you don't just put marketing. You put digital marketing, or you put Twitter marketing, or whatever. So the more specific you get, the better the results are going to be for you. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The more specific any search term is, the better results you're going to get, and the same applies to social media as would a Google search or an Amazon search.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about Facebook, we've talked about Twitter. Let's just have a quick little chat about Instagram. Now, I'm going to leave this to you. You just talk away about Instagram, because I do have an Instagram account, and I know it's a lot about sharing photos, but just kind of give us an overview.
Yeah, Instagram was created originally as an in-the-moment platform where people would be sharing images of what they were doing at that moment in time. A lot of us don't want to share images of ourselves, but it's a good platform to share those moments in your life that have some meaning and some impact, particularly if they relate to what the subject of your book. So when you have a character who features in your book, Jude Lennon and Lammy, all those characters feature quite heavily in all of their promotional material, and they are perfect for Instagram. So she's got a mascot. He features in different situations, and gets her promotional material in front of people. But Instagram is very in the moment. It's not a tool that is designed to be scheduled and thought about up front. It's designed to be there and then, but it's very, very, very picture-based.
Now, it used to have, I really got turned off by Instagram, because it would be like, people would put 15 hashtags with a picture. I'm like, what is this? So it's kind of calmed down the hashtag side of it, hasn't it?
It has. It's not uncommon to see pictures that the only comments on there are hashtags. That doesn't really do you any good.
No.
You actually need to put a comment, and you do need to use hashtags because that's how people find you.
Because again, it's the search.
Yeah, again, this is about searching.
Yeah.
I used hashtags for different things depending on what it was. I mean, I used Work Experience Week as a hashtag on there and got a whole bunch of new followers because I had work experience in the week. So I did gain new people interested in what I do.
Yeah, but you didn't use 20 different hashtags.
No, they say the recommended is no more than 9. I've struggled after about 4, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because you're only writing about one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So why overload people? Why have that? Oh my God, which hashtag do I read? Which one really relates to it?
Yeah.
Better to write a short post and a message and get a message out there to somebody that relates to the image that you're showing, rather than just load it with loads and loads of hashtags which don't convey meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I get that. So if your book is very, I wouldn't say Instagram, unless you're really, really comfortable in Instagram. I wouldn't worry about that if you were writing a novel. But if you have a self-help book, a nonfiction book, or particularly a children's book.
Children's books work really, really well. If you've got a main character and you've got a mascot of that main character, that works so well on Instagram.
Yeah. So those are the people that I would suggest, those are the authors I would suggest that would definitely be on Instagram because it is picture-based. But again, nonfiction authors, so because it depends on the nonfiction book, but if you've written a book because you're promoting workshops or you're wanting people to engage with you, so you offer other things and the book is just one element of that, then that's, again, you can use pictures and messages from your book that get people noticing you, who then hopefully turn into a paying client of yours. So that's why, we're talking to authors who do books as because they're almost like, what would you call it? A book is, I don't want to call it a lost leader, but it's like
it's secondary to their main line of business.
Main line of business. Yeah.
I've got various ebooks that are out there that are very much secondary to what I do. I teach. That's what I do. I teach people. I educate people. But I've got a couple of ebooks that are around education that I give away so people can understand that, I do know what I'm talking about. I've done this for a long time. Yeah. I've got a lot of history behind me. I've got a lot of education. And I use those books to reinforce that. But, they're not what I do for a living.
No,
I don't write those books for a living.
And that's not how you make your money.
No, it's not how I make my money.
So. And so that's what I think my nonfiction authors need to remember is your book is another tool to get people to know who you are and what you do and what your business is. So it's not something that you're going to make loads and loads of money on its own, unless you're Jack Canfield or whatever, or Tony Robbins or whatever. But Tony Robbins wasn't famous at the start. It takes effort to get to that stage.
A lot of the self-help people go on to do the motivational speaker slots, and that's where the money is.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered Facebook, Twitter, and a little bit of Instagram, and we've talked a bit about hashtags and what the difference between a profile and a page is on Facebook. And I think your overriding message is you need to consistently do this. You can't just dip your toe in and say, oh, well, that didn't work for me after like 2 weeks and then disappear. It's a movable beast. You have to keep working at it, don't
Marketing is an ongoing process. You have to keep doing it. Results are not going to happen from anything overnight. And even when everything is going really, really well and you're at the top, you still have to keep your marketing going so that you stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I know I've always learnt from my marketing background is that don't stop marketing when things are going well. That's when you need to keep marketing. And then again, if things are bad and you don't have the money, still focus on marketing, because marketing is important whether you're not doing well or whether you are doing well. It's one of those things that you must keep, just keep at it.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
And what is brilliant about you, Jan, is that you will teach people how to do things for free, by doing things that you don't have to pay thousands of pounds for. So tell us. I know you don't have your September courses out yet, but you will shortly on your website. So just tell us again what your website and social media links are.
Yeah, johnjelly.co.uk has got all the links to all the courses that we do. So if anybody's interested in anything we've spoken about today, they can find all the background information, and the next course dates will be going on there.
Shortly, yeah.
Yeah, so within the next few weeks, certainly this month, they'll all be up there before the end of the summer.
Okay. And social media?
Social media.
Your links.
There's a lot. All the links are on the website, but John Jelly on Wirral on Facebook, John Jelly Wirral Twitter and on Instagram. There's lots of free information on there. There's lots of help stuff on there as well.
Okay. We'll just mention at Hal's Books as well, because we talked quite a bit. So if you want to go as an author, if you want to go on Twitter and follow at Hal, Hals Books, then you can kind of see and follow and see what they're doing. You also do something called a Marketing Fit Club, and we're going to be offering, which you do for small businesses, and we're going to be offering that for authors, specifically for authors, come September. So that, just in a nutshell, what is a Marketing Fit Club?
Marketing Fit Club is where we do step by step all those tasks you should be doing to make sure your marketing is totally successful. Okay. So we're going to come up with, it'll be a 6-month thing, but we only meet once a month over the 6 months. You have plenty of time to do it, but you get a kick up the bum to actually do stuff.
And we can have online engagement as well. So we create our own little group, and we can support each other in that group.
Yeah, there's always support going on constantly through those 6 months and beyond.
Okay. So that's really exciting. So any authors who are interested in that, you can come to my Facebook page at teamauthoruk.co.uk and find out more information about the courses that we offer. We do creative writing courses, but we also do lots of courses with Jan on social media and digital marketing. So that's it for this week, I'm afraid. It went really, really quickly. Thank you, Jan. And it's always lovely being with you, because you give the most awesome hugs as well.
Thank you for inviting me on the show, Sue.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening, please listen again on Callan FM. Go to Wednesday schedule, and you can find the Indie Author Show, and then just click on listen again, and it's there for the 2 weeks until my next show. So I'll be back in a fortnight, and my guest on that day is Nikki Abel Francis. She's one of the very first authors that I worked with, and her book is Chicklet. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll be having a great conversation with Nikki. So thanks to my listeners, and have a wonderful rest of the summer. As I said, it's the 1st of August, so we've got just 30 days left before the children go back to school and life gets back to normal. We were talking, Jan, weren't we, about how quiet the roads are right now. So there are benefits to summertime. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks.